Great good morning, everyone. It is a beautiful Thursday, June 26th, 2025. Cordaro Jewelers watch time, 9:14 a.m. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he. Broadcasting today from the United States of America. I can prove it. We have an administration that cares about Americans first. It's also the place where the brave, like the veterans we lost this year, but celebrate today thanks to our man, John Basiliga, Albert Smith, Scranton, formerly of Hawley, Robert Cannon, Hazleton, John Emmert. Well, it doesn't say. Plains, my apologies. Alan Lyons, New Hyde Park, New York, but he lived in Scranton. Basil Pavelchak, Vienna, Virginia, but he was from Fell. Charles Pisano, West Pittston. The United States of America, founded with a certain knowledge and understanding by our incredible founding fathers that the government is not, shall not be, cannot be our parent, our guide, our direction, our salvation, not any of these things, but is nothing more than a necessary evil we require to organize and protect society. The United States of America, the country where, for the first time in human history, freedom was declared to be an unalienable right granted to each individual by God. It could not be parceled out to groups, and it could not be controlled by government or government officials. Our great American Constitution ensured that, and it codified freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of association, economic freedom, and freedom of the press. Yeah, they lie. So what? We're big boys, armed with these freedoms, and only because they had them. A ragtag bunch of immigrants, rejects, and their progeny created the richest, most powerful, most culturally diverse and accepting nation ever to grace our planet Earth. America, the only place specifically invented and designed so that every American can live their life in the manner they choose, unlimited by their background, upbringing, race, color, or creed, unhindered by the government or those who would use government to control others for their own comfort, benefit, or power. This Bob Cordaro Show, well, it'll always be convincingly conservative, lovingly logical, proudly and passionately patriotic, and reliably right. And so, we gavel to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising you a sanctuary of sanity for the balance of this morning, because you need it when they're just lying to you. It's remarkable. By the way, isn't that great? I love Victor Davis Hanson. I could listen to him all day. And so we played a couple of subjects. We're going to play maybe even more of him as time goes on. And, of course, the great Rodney Dangerfield. We know that. We know how great he is. So I get the mail yesterday. So it says Department of Public Works, Scranton, PA. Cardboard and paper are now combined in one pickup, and we're accepting more plastics! Exclamation point. Now, this is another election year bullspit. You are paying for Mayor Many Names, who's been ineffective on virtually every plane of her mayoral existence, like nothing getting done. Potholes, City Hall, they've still boarded up. Upstairs, you can't get in. But the good thing is, in an election year, you can now do your cardboard and paper. And by the way, do you know what they do with them? They're taken to the landfill. They're not recycling this stuff. They're taken to the landfill. And so I often talk about this. This is the proof of the left's insanity. Okay? And they get themselves all lathered up. Do you remember? This is not a subject I haven't touched on before. Do you remember when the recycling trucks come out? Probably the 80s. And they had all these, they cost a fortune. And they had all these specific slots where different materials would go. Here's the newspaper. Here's the plastic. Here's the this. Here's the metal can. And eventually they were just thrown, not long after, this massive waste of money and our poor DPW guys having to deal with this silliness when they knew where everything was going. So now we've got to have a separate pickup still to this day. Then they stopped doing it. They just stopped doing it, and the DPW guys just had to throw everything recyclable together on that recycling truck. The heck with the slots, because it was a scam. Now we're getting a congratulations to Mayor Many Names that cardboard and paper will be collected together! Exclamation point. It's a scam. Why do they make our guys do another route, by the way, because they've got to go around again to pick up the paper and the cardboard that's going to the same place as your garbage is going? Oh, and then they've got a consultant, which has been working for, 6 years in the city, as long as the mayor's around, because we've got to take care of our consultant class. And the consultant, are they telling us we could collect our cardboard and newspaper together? But they're holding on to the green scam nonsense. And then our mayor, she's not good at much. She's great at political correctness. She's perfect. Political correctness, wokeness, all of that. I don't understand it. And it just continues. Somebody said this: Cognetti will be asked to step aside for her congressional run. No, I don't think so. The point is, you got to remember with these people, the careerists in politics, they go between nonprofits and back and forth and back and forth, and consultant gigs and all of this. But they need a platform in order to get the best possible job. Now, that to Mayor Cognetti is, she's got to be mayor to run for Congress, because she'll still have a gig. So she's not leaving the mayoralty. Now, this is only to have Bridget Kozarowski appointed as the only Democrat candidate in the primary. No, I mean, I think you're talking about the congressional primary, because Bridget does not live in Scranton. We'll see. I don't know how that shakes out. Our mayor, Cognetti, fully intends to run for U.S. Congress. It's the reason she ran for mayor. Yeah. So that's our fake left-wing wokeness for the day. And guess what? You're paying for it 3 ways. They've not only got to go, and by the way, we got to play, Bulldog, we got to play Stick Out Your Can, because my great DPW guys picked up the garbage today in the Hill section. But yeah, you're not only paying for her consultants who will support her future endeavors, you are paying extra so that they could pretend they're recycling paper and cardboard. So you get it every way but Sunday. Thank you, Mayor Cognetti. We'll take a break and be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Had to wait for that. Murph says this date, 1955, Decca Records announced that Bill Haley and the Comets had sold more than 3 million units in 13 months. Rock Around the Clock itself sold almost 1.35. They used to sell singles, single records. And if Joe Nardone, correct me if I'm wrong. They'd sell singles, and then I don't know if they'd have a tour for the single, but then they'd come out with an album of the singles that worked. And the singles had an A side and a B side. And the A side was the one they thought would be a hit. The B side was other. And, usually good songs. But, you went out to a store and you bought your records back then. 1963, John F. Kennedy, one of the most famous speeches in history, American history for sure. Ich bin ein Berliner. Man, he had such great writers and such great delivery. JFK, he was something. People could argue about a lot of things with JFK, but style. The style was just right for a new era. It really was. And unfortunately, we got stuck with Lyndon Johnson. This great country, he was the first of our worst. Nixon, good in a lot of ways, horrible economically, and then, of course, Watergate. For the day and the time, and we look at it now, you look at what the Bidens did corruption-wise, it was nothing. It was child's play. Nixon's Watergate corruption was child's play compared to Joe Biden and the Democrat Party. I mean, put your opponent in jail, get him prosecuted, coordinate with the Justice Department with a bunch of local idiots in Manhattan and Georgia, get a special counsel that's a rabid dog and have him pursue, and Trump beat it all back somehow. Thank God. Wow. We were in trouble, guys. And we're trying to come out of it. We're trying desperately to come out of it. The after effects are still substantial. We'll see if there's terrorist attacks between just the red Chinese that the sick Biden administration led into this country and the Iranians. Who knows? And the Islamists that have been allowed in this country who are getting free reign, one of whom might be the mayor of New York City. Does it have to get that bad before people wake up? Does it have to get that bad? I certainly hope not. All right, I look up and I see that our Cordaro Jewelers watch time is 9:31:52. So let's take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We'll be back with our Veterans Tribute after this. Our veterans this hour, our veterans every hour, our veterans every day. Saluted thanks to John Basiliga and Basiliga Hospitality. Well, it's Thursday. The weekend is starting. The Terra 519's open. Sergey's is open tonight. You know, if you're looking for something a little less formal, you got the Old Brook Inn, Springbrook Township, Far Street Tavern, West Scranton, Queen City Tavern, Oliphant. And if you want to go old school formal, Stegmeyer Mansion. Wowza. Check out a movie, Scranton Art House. Basil Pavlchak. He died May 23rd. He was 93. His wife of 59 years is the former Lorraine Moore. He was born in Simpson, graduate of Fell High School. He served us in the Army during the Korean War. He later was employed as a communications specialist for the U.S. government. And after retiring, he worked as a U.S. government contractor. In addition to his wife, Basil is survived by his 2 daughters and their spouses, 4 grandchildren as well. His funeral was at St. Basil's Orthodox Church in Simpson. Basil Pavlchak. Charles Patrick Pisano. He was from Enola. He passed away at age 88, May 27th. Born in Pittston. He's survived by his wife, Betty, 2 sons, a daughter, and his grandchildren, his stepsons and 4 step-grandchildren, as well as 9 step-great-grandchildren. Charlie was preceded in death by his former wife, Virginia Jean Tralia Pisano of Pittston, and tragically also by his son, Charles. Charlie graduated from Pittston High School, 3-year letterman in football. He served us in the military in the U.S. Air Force, entering in 1954. Sampson Air Force Base for basic training, then Rhine-Main Air Force Base, Frankfurt, Germany. He was with the Flight Service Squadron, 39 months, the Army German Occupation Medal. Involved with Mechanicsburg Veterans and Mechanicsburg Club. Instrumental in obtaining funding to establish a Pennsylvania Alliance for the Mentally Ill. Member of the Order of the Sons and Daughters of Italy. He was also a staunch supporter of Christopher Columbus and Columbus Day, and a critic of those who aim to rewrite America's history. Man after my own heart. Charles Pisano, our great veterans today, brought to you by Basiliga Hospitality. Storm Tracker 16 forecast from meteorologist Joe Snedeker. Today, partly sunny, humid with a chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms, high 83. Tonight, partly cloudy, 65. Friday, cloudy and cooler, chance of showers, 75. Saturday, partly cloudy and milder with scattered thunderstorms, high 85. Sunday, warm and humid with a chance of thunderstorms, high 85. The Marcells. Murph says this date, 1961, they performed their hit Blue Moon on the television show American Bandstand. Bob Cordaro back with you on the eponymous program. Just so you know, I've temporarily And Bulldog's going to have to come here and figure this out. Temporarily lost my texts. So you're going to have to call 570-883-0098. I love when you text. And it's easier for everybody involved, but you got to call. So today, we're going to have John Basiliga on to talk about real estate and his real estate developments and his latest projects. And then at 11 o'clock, we're going to have Chris Chermak. I think many of you, if not most of you, got your reassessment notices in Lackawanna County. And I don't think people are very pleased. The only thing I'll say, and I'm not defending how they've proceeded, and you know that I think that Gaughan has been an awful, awful county commissioner. But the assessment doesn't mean your taxes going up, okay? That's not how much they're going up, the way your assessment, because everybody else's or many other people's assessment is going up also, and that will average out. So try to stay calm, but we'll have Chris Chermak. He's got another one of those reassessment forums on Monday, so we'll talk about that. And while we're talking about and brought up about New York City with our man Bo Dietl yesterday, we got Kling Klang from Clark's Summit on Mamdani. How are you?
Hey, Klinger, what's up, buddy?
How you doing?
Good. I just decided to give you a shout. I haven't talked to you in a long time.
I know, and I knew it was you.
Yeah, Ronnie said you'd get a kick out of that.
Always.
Yeah. Hey, Bobby, I got to talk to you about something here. This Mondami situation in New York City. Have all these people that are so-called educated people really know what they voted for?
It's like a mass psychosis of like a third of our population, and they will just blindly vote for the most left-wing. I don't know if it makes them feel better, if they're guilty. They're certainly stupid and ignorant, but they're voting that way. I don't get it.
I don't get it either. He's waving the free carrots out in front of all these idiots.
And they know he can't deliver. Like, he can't deliver when he's saying it.
Yeah. So do you think that the level of intelligence is declining in these large cities, New York, Chicago, and L.A.?
I don't know. I will say this. The level of stupidity that they will put up with and create has certainly grown. And these cities they're self-destructive. But it's a function of one-party rule in all of these cities. And it just feeds on itself, and it's a race to the bottom for all these people in the Democrat Party, actually a race to the left. And we've now culminated in this insane person winning the Democrat nomination. It's amazing.
Yes, and secondly, Clinton congratulated him. I think he's on borderline imparity, for lack of better terms.
Well, now he endorsed Cuomo, which, okay, that wasn't going to have much effect, meaning Bill Clinton. But I don't understand why somebody like Bill Clinton, who's got nothing at stake, is going along with the whole destruction and left-wing lurch of the Democrat Party. I don't understand why he has to do that. Barack Obama either. At some point, they should be saying, hey, we've gone way too far. Let's bring it back. That's what leaders do. But people who just want to be popular, they go along with the crowd.
Yeah, and they're also creating, they've been divided, they're dividing the United States as they've done for when Donald J. was elected, for his first term. You know what I mean? That's where the division started, I think. The hatred,
it
the anti-Semitism.
It actually started with Obama. That was inexplicable, too. He got elected by people of all races, specifically white people, and then he proceeded to act as though this country was irretrievably racist. And it caused all the problems that it started a lot of the problems, re-accelerated a lot of the problems we had already handled.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely, So
crazy stuff.
Anyway, I just wanted to reach out to you and maybe convince some of these Democrats to take a hard look at what they're voting for these days, because it's insanity. It's total insanity. Trump, for example, is a businessman. The United States government is one big business. And Trump has actually brought that sense of leadership, as well as the sense that things need to be accounted for. I mean, my God, you had people on the Social Security that were over 100 years old. Some were 140. Come on. You
had Small Business Administration loans going to 9-month-old kids. I mean, it's insane. And they don't care. They still don't care.
None. Oh, my. I'll tell you what. I think I'm glad I'm at the age I'm at right now, because I don't think I could put up with seeing what's going to happen 20 years from now if they stay on this track.
I know. I know exactly what you mean. And we sound like cling clang. We sound like guys saying, "Get off my lawn." But the fact is, that's true. I think that often to myself. Man, if I was 34 instead of 64, I'd be so frightened for the future. Man, what is it going to bring?
Yeah, well, it's brought a lot of hatred, is what it's brought. I had an example this morning. I had to stop at a doctor's office to pick up 2 scripts, and I pulled in the wrong way, okay, because it was only going to be 1 minute. Then I come back out, and here's a guy that's right up against my bumper, and I couldn't get out. And I said to him, "Buddy, could you let me out, please?" He said, "Don't you know how to park?" And he was looking for a fight, and I wouldn't give it to him. I said, "Look, you have a nice day." And I was just about ready to call 911, and the doctor came out and had him move.
Some guy appointed himself as traffic cop, huh?
Oh yeah. He was in this big ass pickup truck, with the diesel engine, and he outweighed me by about 100. So my common sense said to me, "Don't get into it any further." Well, look, good talking.
Well, I'm happy you remained peaceful this morning, Cling Clang. Thank you for checking in, my man.
Hey, look, you know what? I've been chewed up and spit out so many times being in business. You get that way.
I know it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right. You have a good day.
You too. Thank you. We'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. A call from Cling Clang always makes the day better. We'll take a break and be back. That's for Rich in West Pittston, and obviously cute and appropriate since Europe is singing this song. At least NATO members are. Who was that? Was that the head of NATO who said daddy, called him daddy? It was pretty funny stuff. Thank you, Rich. Good reminder. Good catch. Bob Cordaro back here on WILK. My Bacardo Jewelers watch time is 9:57. So as we wind down this hour, somebody pointing out that a lot of the stuff that they're taking are garbage, combustible recyclables, that they're going to waste to energy plants and they're being burned. That's even better. They're not burying it, they're burning it. I had a garbage guy tell me once long ago, there's only two things you can do with garbage. You can burn it or you can bury it. Well, they're burning it. So our Mayor Many Names is creating more carbon dioxide. How about that? God, I say this all the time, the contradictions within their philosophies and agenda, they're insane. And hence why I tell you often, that's why someone like Mayor Cognetti cannot do a good job. Literally cannot. Other than advancing themselves, let me think of Kamala. She never did a good job at anything she did. She had this left-wing agenda that she was faithful to, and that was it. She was faithful to the left-wing agenda because it served her ambition, personal ambition. She didn't do anything. She didn't accomplish anything. That's just like our mayor. And so they're slavish to the agenda, whether that's fake diversity. Notice these diverse people all think exactly alike. They had an article, Mr. Paul sent this to me, in the newspaper. So it's all this election year nonsense. Making a big splash was the article, and you can't get a photographer for anything out of this newspaper. But Mayor Cognetti got one from her press secretaries at the Scranton Times, and they're at the pool at Weston Field. Now, I want to note something. It says staff report. Do you know what that means? It means that it was pretty largely a Mayor Cognetti press release that they reprinted. It's unbelievable. This electioneering, it's clever, but I want to know, are we that stupid, we the voters of the city of Scranton? I'm one of you. Are we that stupid? We're going to let someone who's using us for their personal ambitions, we're going to let them fool us? Really? Are we going to do that? We'll see. Time will tell. Making a big splash. How about that? I don't know if she wrote the headline, too. She probably did. All right, it is. According to the Bacardo Jewelers, your Breitling, Oris, Longines, Michelle, Shinola, Luminox, and Swiss Army Watch Store, it's 10:01. We'll be back after the news. Great good morning, everyone. Cordaro Jewelers watch time, 10:07 a.m. here in the great Northeast this beautiful Thursday, June 26, 2025. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, and it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and honor the brave who have made us and kept us free. John Basiliga helps us do that because we want to talk about people like Alan Lyons, formerly of New Hyde Park, New York, Scranton, Robert Paul Cannon, Hazleton, Albert Smith, Scranton, formerly of Hawley, John Joseph Emmett, Plains, Charles Pisano, formerly of Pittston, but from Enola, and Basil Pavelchak, Vienna, Virginia, but he was from Simpson. So with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order, this meeting of the Club for Common Sense, we're committed to common sense. We tell you that. And because of that, we provide you a sanctuary of sanity each morning because you need it. I mean, oh, Lord. Crazy stuff, is it not? Hey, by the way, one of our great executive producers, my pal Mark Mayer, he tells me that he's at the Brick with his nephew Ian Hintz. And they're working on the floor behind the bar. And Ian Hintz, he's a member of the Club for Common Sense. Ian, welcome. Welcome, my brother. We're happy to have you on board and part of the deal. It is the deal. It truly is. Tom from Dallas says Trump should have corrected the head of NATO and told him it's King Daddy to you. Oh, Lord. I'm telling you, he's my favorite comedian. He truly is. I just think he's hilarious. I love to watch his reactions and the things he says and the people he tweaks. Yes, it gets to me sometimes because I'm like, come on, we got more elections to win here, but it's part of the charm. It's part of the charm. I always say it's like we'd be playing football, and my man Mark Mayer would understand this, and there'd be some guy that was, yelling at the other side. It was never my thing. Trash talking was never my thing. But they're a good teammate. Maybe they're a great player. And so you got to put up with it. So that's what we do. So we talk about John Basiliga every day. And I'm amazed at all the stuff he does, the companies he has. And not just, I've got to tell you, the way I operate sponsorships, that I do, I pick them. And they may not want to do it. And if they don't, they don't. But I ask them because I want to be associated with them. I want you, all these massive amounts of listeners, to get that they're great. They're places you should sponsor, places you should go to. Well, there was an article, and I get the pleasure of talking to John all the time. But on Friday the 13th, there was an article about John's specific project, some smaller buildings he's doing. He's got a heck of a footprint on the 100 block of Wyoming Avenue in Scranton. And I tell you about his restaurants and his real estate play, which is now going to Pittston and Wilkes-Barre. It's really phenomenal. I'm telling you, I can't brag enough about him. But here he is, our guy, John Basiliga. John, how are you?
Doing great, Bob. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
I love talking to you all the time, and I want people to understand why and how you do all the things you do. This article, which you may not even remember, but it was a good article by Jim Lockwood in the Scranton Times. It went over your projects on Wyoming Avenue in Scranton, and there are quite a few, aren't there?
Yes, Bob, definitely. And I did read the article. Jim Lockwood, over the years since I bought Steamtown, I think it was about 10 years ago, has been great. Newspaper's going to write a story no matter what. So if you could get on there and answer and respect these guys, you could always kind of give your spin on it in a way. And mine was always for positivity towards the city. So I appreciate Jim.
Well, this block of Wyoming has been, in a lot of ways, abandoned. You had the former United Penn. It was also the Dime Bank building at one time, way back when, before there was a new Dime Bank. And that's one of the buildings. Then you go to the opposite side. There's a number of other buildings, 130 Wyoming, 117, 115, 111. When you approach a project or you see a building that's available, or as is the case nowadays, when someone approaches you to buy something, do you immediately see how it weaves into the whole picture? Or do you take the projects specifically and one-on-one?
Bob, when you and I did the interview, I think it was on WNEP, it spoke a lot about how I really got my start and how I became involved with the downtown. And the biggest reason was, like I said, I just got sick and tired of people saying Scranton was no good. And, I'm from here. I was born here. I have kids that I'm going to keep here. And when you live in an area, you have to fight for it to be its best version of itself. So, and like I said in the interview, when I got my start, I started my first company when I was 20 years old with nothing. And it was a roofing company, Eastern Roofing. I got into real estate probably about 2009. I loved it. I was, excited always to do it. But at that time, the properties that I would buy were probably ready for the wrecking ball because that was the best opportunity, the lowest value that I could acquire them for. So that's where I started doing that and just finding like diamond in the rough, sort of. The buildings on Wyoming Avenue, as we kind of turned Lackawanna Avenue back into, what I hope it becomes even busier. We renewed at least with Boscov's, which is a huge thing. The movie theater, the Scranton Art House, is doing really, really well. Coney Island is officially under construction. So a lot of stuff happened on Lackawanna. But that block of Wyoming.
The Southern Union building, right? That's another a true jewel.
Well, I'm calling from there right now, Bob. But that block of Wyoming, just for years, like you said, just vacant, run down, and it bothered me driving by it. It's like the Produce Cigar building. When you come into the city, you saw that building all beat up and destroyed. It gave you a bad impression of entering the downtown. Now it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It gives you a really good feeling coming downtown. So Wyoming, I saw opportunity there. I have an ability. Everything that I'm able to do is God-given, and that's what I always would say. But I could see through the cobwebs and kind of see the finished product before I even start. So I saw really good bones in all those buildings. It was 134 Wyoming, 130 Wyoming, 109 Wyoming, 111 Wyoming, 115 Wyoming, and 117 Wyoming. So the accumulation of those buildings, Bob, not only apartments that'll bring foot traffic to the downtown, I think I could create or get about 9 or 10 new businesses downtown that aren't coming from another block of the downtown. They're for the first time downtown or expanding to downtown. And that to me is a true win, not taking somebody else's tenant, but creating a new one.
Well, we've got Scranton City, despite terrible leadership, has had great developers. What made you believe? Because when you do office space or you do an apartment, it is first class. It is top shelf. And the old way around here, frankly, was, hey, let's just slap it together and get somebody in there. The way you approach apartments and office space is completely different. You say, we're going to do it first class, no expense spared, and they will come. And they have.
Yeah, Bob, I remember being in my grandfather's house on East Mountain, and him and my father were standing there. And they said, never embarrass your last name. And anything you do it as if it's the last thing you ever do on this earth. And you always keep the bar set really, really high. And, like President Trump always said, his biggest asset is his brand. And I think the same way. When I put my name on something, it means something to me, to my family, and my community. And I always want it to be the best. And this city deserves the best. And we deserve strong leadership. We deserve toughness. And it's hard to see some of the things that happen. But, When I'm doing my thing, I focus on the end zone. I don't see other people trying to tackle me. I look down, and that's where I have to get to. And you keep pushing ahead despite all the obstacles.
And there are plenty of people trying to tackle you, that's for sure. But so, John, you've gone beyond Scranton, which I'm sort of like, oh, but that doesn't mean you've stopped developing in Scranton. But you bought the old hospital in Pittston, and then you bought 4 properties in downtown Wilkes-Barre. Tell us a little bit about your plans for the Pittston Hospital.
Well, I said before, Bob, about your brand. When I had Mayor Brown from Wilkes-Barre reached out to me, as did Mayor Lombardo from Pittston, and 2 incredibly great men that really love their cities.
Yeah.
Mayor Brown said, "I need you in Wilkes-Barre." I said, "Mayor, I appreciate that, but Scranton's home. I have to do that first." He goes, "Just get down here." So, and we joked about that, but I was able to acquire the building on Public Square from the city. Really excited about that. I think Public Square is again another diamond in the rough down in Wilkes-Barre. Just needs a couple more things, and I think it could be great. As is South Franklin, where I have the Stegmeyer mansions and that. But getting to the hospital in Pittston, when Mayor Lombardo reached out to me on that, he said, your record's impeccable. He goes, "We need somebody like you down here that'll do it to your standards." And that, I drove up, I saw the property, and it was an immediate yes. Mm-hmm. It's a huge project, but there's some land that runs adjacent to the river as well. There's some views I could get. Being a roofer since I'm 13 years old, I'm going to do rooftop patios and do all that kind of stuff. But that comes with natural amenities. The river, there's walking trails, all that other stuff. So that's just a win-win. About a week away from getting some architects to start looking at some conceptual design to try to get the number of units we could put in to start developing a pro forma. But super exciting project.
Let's talk about downtown Wilkes-Barre now. I cannot brag enough about the Mary Stegmeyer mansion. You showed me the Frederick Stegmeyer mansion. Very distinct properties, but they're like out of another era mansions. One Victorian and the other, I guess more contemporary wouldn't be the right word, but the Mary Stegmeyer mansion where you have the great restaurant. What made you? I mean, you had to look at these buildings and say they are gorgeous.
First, I have to give credit to the previous owner, Joe Mateo. The guy is a genius in design and just a super, super nice guy. And he reached out to me through somebody. Actually, somebody introduced us, but there was a guy that wanted to make sure, just like the Bradshaws with Old Town and Queen City Tavern and the Venturas at Coney Island, they reached out to me and said, "We want these businesses to be in good hands." And I was able to work out a deal with them, but he and ran with it. But the Mary Stegmeyer mansion was predominantly used for events only. So I look at this building, you have a big kitchen, you have staff, chefs, managers, all that overhead. And I said, why not, instead of just doing events, why don't we open it up into a full-scale dining experience? There's not a lot of tables, but just very exquisite. We're not pushing to turn the tables a few times, so it's a long dining experience. But I wanted it to be a transporting experience to a different time. And the building needed a lot of things. It needed a lot of CapEx things, HVAC, plumbing, a little structural stuff here and there. And we're doing that. We put a lot into it already, but it is gorgeous. I'm really proud of my team. And so it's a great addition to our group of restaurants.
Now, your wife helps you a lot with interior design stuff, but there was something in the Stegmeyer mansion that you picked. And it was a painting, actual painting of the Mona Lisa, and it's sort of a centerpiece of the main dining room. What made you think that would fit in? I just thought that's one of the most interesting things.
I think, Bob, the effect I wanted to have is just like you talking about it right now. It's a talking piece. In fact, we're talking about it on the radio.
I just saw on Instagram people taking their picture in front of it because it's
right.
It's really a great painting.
It is neat. It's fitting. It's a little bit ludicrous, but it's there, and it's just if in some odd way it fits. And a lot of the stuff I had down there, we ordered different kinds of chairs, and the chairs to me were a little contemporary. We sent them back, and then through a process of looking at different style chairs online, I would always order 2 of them. So I did this about 3 or 4 times, about 8 chairs, 6 to 8 chairs. And so this one's too big, this one's too wide, it's too heavy, it doesn't look exactly right, but it's good for the house. So we would put those chairs throughout the house and kind of mix and match everything. And it actually works. So almost anything you throw in that building kind of works. And the more unmatched it is, the better it looks, oddly.
It's fascinating. And then, the table side salads, the bread service. It's a unique experience, and it's befitting the mansion. It really fits in there. Like you almost feel like, gosh, this is what it'd be like to live there.
Definitely, Bob. It's a great experience, and being able to share that with so many people, hopefully a lot more, is a great feeling. And doing it right, that building is in really good shape. We cleaned up just about every part of it to get it where it is today. So that's super exciting. And a Freddie Mansion just down a couple blocks on South Franklin, we're going to make that back into a bed and breakfast. And Jimmy Carter actually stayed there at least one time. Mm-hmm. That's on the National Register of Homes. It's beautiful. It's so much more ornate than a Mary. It's just, you walk in there, it's the amount of detail is staggering. And again, a lot of credit to Joe Mateo.
You've got this gorgeous bank building next to the Kirby Center on Public Square. Did you solidify plans or at least thoughts for what you're going to do with that? Because it is an amazing building.
So when you walk in the front door of that building, I'm going to say the ceiling height's probably close to 40 feet. It's certainly in the 30s. Some people that looked at it before me were going to put a mezzanine, a second floor, if you will, to increase the square footage. But to me, and I said, and I had when I went in front of Wilkes-Barre Council with my plans on, I said I would never do that because it would ruin the integrity of the building. So whatever I do with that, it's not going to be the most economical or useful as far as square footage, but it doesn't always need to be. So my idea of something like that, it's some sort of hospitality, maybe a tapas type thing. I don't know if it's another restaurant. You start to cannibalize yourself a little bit if you have too many of them with the same thing. But maybe some sort of Sergei's type thing like I have in downtown Scranton with a little bit of food. Mm-hmm. It's building. You walk into these big skylights; it's just gorgeous. I don't want to ruin it. It needs a lot of plaster work. There's a lot of ornate plaster and dental work on the inside that needs to be repaired. But I'll bring it back to what it was for sure.
Now the one and this is just me, but I thought one of your most challenging projects was the Far Street Tavern. Now here is a neighborhood bar beloved by the people in the Trips Park section of West Scranton, and you totally redid it, which was gutsy, and in a lot of ways, because everybody remembered Benny, and I loved it, all that, the wings. But you brought it back, and people sort of, the neighbors in particular, but a lot of people from everywhere, they just started coming back because the food's great and the decor is awesome.
Yeah, a real quick story on how I acquired that, Bob. And I said, there's no coincidences in life. Everything happens for a reason. And I was looking for a liquor license for the old Ground Round at Steamtown. And I was going to open it up a place called London's, which I still might do. I just been busy. So I'm looking at.
Have you been?
A little bit.
What have you been doing, John?
Right. Only four free hours a day, so I could work a little more. So I was introduced to the guy that owned the Far Street Tavern, and I was acquiring a license off of it, and something happened where there was something with his bank had a deal, and whatever happened, I think they foreclosed on the building. The bank called me and said, "Are you interested in the building?" So I said, "Yes, absolutely." Because I wanted the license. Never intended on rebuilding the Far Street Tavern. So everything's fine. And then this thing called, whatever you want to call it, COVID happens. And I'm looking for a small job to do. And I kept getting calls on the Far Street. When are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? And I drove by there one day, and I looked in, and I said, no, it's kind of small. Won't be that big of a deal. We'll just get in. We'll start gutting it. So we did, and then we uncovered just everything. But I didn't want to rip the structure down because I felt that if I ripped that building down, it wouldn't be the Far Street Tavern anymore.
Yeah.
And even though we took every inch of everything out of it, it's still the same building. So we get in, and Bob, I remember being on the street there and people driving by and said, "What are you, nuts, putting that kind of money in that place or whatever?" I said, "Yeah, I am, but I need to get done. I need to finish it."
Yeah. Oh,
So we get done with the
love
thing.
it, man.
And here's the best part about it, Bob. Like I said, we get done with the job, and we had a soft opening. We had a couple for friends, but one was for the neighborhood. And I was so surprised how much traffic comes through. I never knew how big Trips Park was. And the neighborhood, a lot of people from the neighborhood came out, and they support us, and they're fantastic. But I was watching, after COVID and after all the other stuff, these guys are coming in there, hugging each other, haven't seen in a couple of years or whatever, and these are neighbors.
Yeah.
So I said, the reason God gave me that project was to bring that neighborhood back together. And I always make a funny joke. In the beginning, we used to chain up the furniture and all that. And, those West Siders, you just don't mess with them. And that is their bar. And nobody touches anything. These guys walk our waitresses, our bartenders out. And it's, I always said I knew a lot of West Siders for a long time. And they either accept you or they don't. And I was always one by proxy. I was always close with a lot of West Side people. So I can't thank them enough for supporting that and putting something in their neighborhood that they're proud of it, and that's their bar. So,
well, I between Cutie, who's a Trips Parker, and one day I don't know how I felt. I'm forgetting how I came across it. I found out that one block of one street in the Trips Park section of West Side produced 17 enlistees in the armed services during World War II. 17 and one block. And I said, this is so the Far Street gang and the Trips Park. It's one of the greatest neighborhoods on the planet, and the Far Street Tavern's befitting all of that. I know that's the way you look at it.
Definitely, Bob. And I'm super proud of being able to sponsor the veterans and you're just giving them the recognition that they so deserve. And again, I can't say enough about the support Far Street gets from that entire neighborhood. It does great. Pound for pound, it might be my best restaurant.
Yeah.
Pound for pound. It's just it's worked well. It has 2 apartments up top plus the sales from the restaurant itself. It's great.
Good stuff. John Basiliga, congratulations on continued success. And I'll tell you, we need you to continue to succeed throughout Northeast Pennsylvania. Appreciate it very much, and I'll keep bragging about you on the radio.
Bob, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. All
right. John Basiliga, Basiliga Group, all those amazing companies. I'm always overwhelmed when I get to talk about the breadth. And by the way, there's great people who work in that organization. You couldn't do it alone. And somebody texted in, gotta love Trips Park. Somebody else said, I think this is a true American dream. Somebody from Mountaintop, actually the Mountaintop. Thank you. Well, the Barcardo's Jewelers, your Breitling, Oris, Longines, Michelle, Shinola, Luminox, Swiss Army watch store, tells us that the time is 10:31. We'll be back with the Veteran Tribute after this. Our great veterans this hour and every hour, this day and every day, brought to you by our man, you just heard him, John Basiliga, and his great family of companies, including Basiliga Hospitality. It's the weekend. Think Basiliga. Eastern Roofing Systems, Serenity Care, and J. Bass Realty, commercial and residential. Alan Lyons, formerly of New Hyde Park, New York. He passed away May 24th at age 94. He was born in Brooklyn, New York, attended Queens College, graduating in 1957. He received his MBA from NYU. He was a retired lease analyst for Helmsley Spear Inc., one of the great real estate developers and managers in Manhattan. He had worked earlier in Europe for Pan Am and American Express. 52 to 54, Allen served with the U.S. Army, the 302nd Military Intelligence Company in Korea. He achieved the rank of sergeant, was awarded the Army Commendation Medal. In 2011, Allen moved to Mulberry Towers in Scranton to be near his cousin, Carol Carpenter. On his passing, he was a resident at the great Geno Murley Veterans Center in Scranton. Alan Lyons. John Emmert. He died May 23rd, just after his 82nd birthday. Born and a longtime resident of Plains, PA. He was a dedicated professional and a respected store manager at Boscov's. John honorably served this country with the military police as a reservist. He was preceded in death by his beloved wife, his cupcake, Ellen Jane, survived by his children, son with his children, another son with his children and wife, a third son with his children and wife, and a fourth son with his child. 5 great-grandchildren on top of those grandchildren. John's legacy is found in the vibrant lives of his children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. Through them, the love and spirit of both John and his beloved wife, Ellen Jane, will continue to shine brightly, carried forward through generations. Could you say any more? John Emmert. Our great veterans this hour brought to you by John Basiliga and Basiliga Hospitality and the Basiliga family of companies. It's such, after those tributes, it's such a letdown to have to do the weather. I have to tell you. And Bulldog refuses to do the weather. Like when Jake is subbing for him, he does it. I'm looking at the Bulldog. He's a Bulldog. He's defiant. Anyway, Storm Tracker 16 forecast meteorologist Joe Snedeker. Today, partly sunny, humid with a chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms, 83. Tonight, partly cloudy, 65. Friday, cloudy and cooler, chance of showers, 75. Saturday, partly cloudy and milder with scattered thunderstorms, 85. Sunday, warm and humid with a chance of thunderstorms, 85. Okay. Do you remember last Friday? I said, what don't we hear in the forecast? And I said, rain. Well, it came down, as they say, cats and dogs, Chauncey's and Ponce on Sunday, despite the forecast. That's Gary U.S. Bonds. This date, 1961. It was the number one hit with Quarter to Three. How about that? Bob Cordaro back. Very different than the sound of a lot of his other songs, which I always like that when a band can do that, when a musician or a group or whatever can sound completely different. It's like Three Dog Night, one of the reasons I love them. It can sound completely different song to song. Good stuff. And that was Don Rickles, who I love. There's so much Don Rickles I can't play. He was doing these skits, making fun of people in the 70s. And I'll listen. It's the same thing with, there's a lot of family, or what was All in the Family, that I would love to play, but it's like, ooh, I don't know if I can play that. And that's the way Rickles is. So I finally found a Rickles I could play. And there it was with David Letterman. They did get a kick out of each other. TJ from Wilkes-Barre, he's on the blower. How are you, TJ?
Hey, thank you for everything. I just wanted to tell you about a couple things last night. It was good and bad. We had the small, very very small turnout. Only about 25 people from the public showed. I don't know whether it's enthused. They're done with the Patriot move and the Trump move and the My Group's move, or if they're just tired of the party, tired of the county. I don't know.
I think a lot of factors. You got to remember, TJ, the people that you're trying to motivate, they're not into politics.
Correct.
I
know. Trump's not on the ticket.
It's a hard gang, yeah. That's a hard. And
and
by the way, they are the real America. They don't live politics every day. They don't care about government day to day, except when it pisses them off. So
correct. But we had Walter Griffith show, Tom Mosca show. They explained what they did. The people were very happy with that, and we only had one council member. Steve Urban showed. The rest of the council members either didn't show because there's a civil war within the party, and if we don't figure this out, we're going to lose in November. And if we have to, whether we like each other or disagree, if we don't figure this out, we are going to lose. And yesterday was a stage that they could have addressed the people that don't like how they vote at council, and they didn't show. And you know what? If they don't show and listen to the people, I don't think the people are going to be motivated to come out in November. And it scares me because I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose the majority at council, as much as I'm not happy with all their votes.
Mm-hmm. It matters. It truly matters. So I'm happy you're plugging, and I would tell you, don't give up. But I think the kind the kind of events that you have to have, just my tiny bit of advice, have got to be more broad based in order to get a decent crowd. You've got to have the congressman there. You know what I mean? You got to have a broader, but maybe the senator or somebody from senator staff. I think the kind of people that we need to motivate.
Celebrities. They're the celebrities.
Well, not celebrities so much as they need a lot of reasons to go. This is not the left where their jobs are dependent on the government or some NGO that gets funded by the government. These are people who are coming because they're interested and love the country and love the area, and you've got to give them a little bit more. So I wouldn't be disappointed with that at all. I really wouldn't.
Oh, I'm not disappointed. I'm disappointed that they didn't show. But I am. And I agree with you because I was going to bring a Bresnahan or a Muser. They always say yes to me. They're great. They love everybody in the party, and they go to every event. But I didn't want it to be that. I really wanted the council to stand on its own. I was hoping that more people would realize, and it was a litmus test. Again, I talked to Sue yesterday, and less than 20% of the people that are registered Republicans show up and vote.
I know.
And I want our council people to be more conservative. Don't give away the money. It's not their money, and get, instead of saying, hey, I got to work across the table, work on the same table. There's 8 out of 10 Republicans that are registered are not inspired.
On your side.
Get them.
And by the way, the Democrats who got elected, on the council were funded by left-wing lunatics out of Washington, D.C., which means they probably are, and there is not going to be common ground with them, period. It's not going to happen unless you're doing something ridiculous. Then you'll get common ground with them.
Exactly. And there's no reason, like what people said yesterday was it's 11-0. They're agreeing on everything. That just got make a conservative wonder why would a Democrat and
well, I always say, and I've said it to Dave McCormick, who he's got bipartisan. He's just a good guy, and he's trying to reach across the aisle. Said, frankly, if a Democrat in today's Washington, D.C. or today's Harrisburg agrees with me, I'm going to start thinking I'm wrong.
Correct. That's all our points.
Yeah.
And you know what? I guarantee if they became more fiscally conservative at council, and if they became more conservative, they wouldn't have to worry about a Democrat or an independent vote. You would have, like Trump did, you would have such a backing of patriots that want something
I know.
like you. We could. I'm not going to give up the fight. I promise.
Never. Come on.
No. But I was happy with you yesterday because it was a litmus test.
Small crowds in the summer for politics, that's a good thing. I'm sorry, TJ. 25 people.
No.
That's a good thing, man.
And it was all new people. Was voters. What I was happy about was when the party had it. It was all committee people or relatives of the people running, and very no voters. Like there was one I saw.
Well,
at
they
one
vote
event.
too, though.
At least we had
TJ,
voters.
we got to go. It's Bloomberg Money Minute. But thank you, my man. Thanks for doing what you do.
Buddy.
We'll be back. The Byrds, Murph says, this date, 1965, they moved up to number one with their hit Tambourine Man. And 1993, this date, Bill Clinton announced the U.S. launched missiles against Iraqi targets. Because of compelling evidence, Iraq had plotted to assassinate former President George H.W. Bush. Boy, I thought that Trump's attack on Iran was the first time the president had ever acted without Congress. I thought that was the first time. Oh, my gosh, I must have been mistaken. My word. And by the way, I could play announcements. I played a bunch of announcements by Obama. I could play them all day. But all of a sudden, the oligarch in the White House. My God almighty. All right, we got a minute or so left. Let's go to Wally from South Wilkes-Barre. Hey, Wally.
Hey, how you doing, Bob? Thanks for taking my call, and I appreciate you remembering my dad, World War II vet, commissioned in Brisbane, Australia, and my uncles in the European theater that were non-commissioned. I did send a call our congressman and told him not to make sure funding for PBS was continues, because I think we need it. I'm a believer in it, and then lastly, I guess I think.
Well, let me say this, Wally. No matter which side you stand on the issue, there's two problems, and I love our local public radio and local public TV. I absolutely love it. The national version, which is who gets most of the money, they're not working in America's best interest. They just aren't. It's a left-wing organization. And, man, don't you think we have enough left-wing news organizations?
No, we got Fox there, and Fox is the one. I think it's – I think they talk about lesbians and gays, and I think they're – I still agree with PBS, and I'll support them, and I hope Senate overturns the.
But Wally, that was number one. Number two, we don't have the money. We just don't have the money. Like they're arguing about Voice of America. We don't have the money. We're $2 trillion per year in deficit. I don't know where you cut, but somebody's ox is going to get gored no matter what you do.
Well, he didn't do it. Your 47's guy Musk did. I think according to PBS, he cut maybe 400, 500 million. So I'm for that, and I'm a pro-life Democrat. So anyway,
that's good to hear. That's good to hear.
That's my take, and
I appreciate that.
Hopefully, we'll get resolved, and that.
Yeah, it's scary to watch, and I'm of the strain of thought that I want them to cut the government in half and then decide where to cut.
Wow.
I don't know, but do you realize how much money they take from us? Do you realize how much debt they've run up? Do you realize how much of our money they waste?
Well, that's just a common theme. But look at what they're doing with aid. People in Africa are dying of AIDS.
No, that's a lie. That's a blatant. No, Wally. That's a blatant lie. Check your news. You must be watching national PBS. That is a lie. It's an Wally. It's an outright lie. Listen to me. The money. Here's the problem with this media theory. The money hasn't even been cut yet. It hasn't been cut yet. So people can't be starving from cuts that didn't happen yet. It's impossible. It's literally impossible, Wally.
We agree to disagree, Robert.
Well, no. This is not an agree to disagree thing. That's not true, period. It's not true.
Well, I'm going to go. I'm going to go with PBS, and you go with
well,
Fox
that
Media,
means then they
Robert.
better cut it because they're misinforming you, Wally. They better cut PBS. Now I know where to stand on the issue. National PBS, cut them out completely. They're liars. Yep.
Well,
you crystallize it in my
Rob.
mind. You crystallize it in my mind. They've fooled you. They've lied to you, and you've fallen for it. Think about it.
Well,
the budget doesn't even go into effect. Wally, stop now. The budget doesn't even go into effect until October 30th. I'm sorry, October 1st.
October 1st.
So how could people be? Wait a minute, please. How could people be starving in Africa from cuts that won't even be in effect until October? Please tell me. They're lying.
No.
I love you, Wally, but they're lying, and you fell for it.
Okay.
And you fell for it,
how
Wally.
about this one, Robert?
We're way past the news, but quickly, come on.
All right. Okay, have a good one. Bye.
All right, thank you, my man. Appreciate it. Call again. This discussion has to be had. Now, he's watching PBS. He wants to support PBS. He's now crystallized in my mind. I'm against PBS now. Now I am. Because they lied and lied about everything, and good people like Wally are believing it. And it's physically impossible to have people in Africa starving because of cuts that haven't happened yet. All right, we'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We're way past as I look at my Picardo Jewelers, your Breitling watch store time. It's 11:04, so we're way past time for the news, but let's do that. We're going to come back with County Commissioner Chris Chermak, Lackawanna County Commissioner. But let's hear the news first, then we'll be back. Great good morning, everyone. Bacardo Jewelers, your Breitling, Oris, Longines, Michelle, Shinola, Luminox, and Swiss Army watch store. In short, your watch store. Tells us it's 11:10 a.m. here in the great Northeast this beautiful Thursday, June 26, 2025. This is the Bob Cordaro Show, and I am he. And it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and with the help of our man, John Basiliga, and his great family of companies, to honor the brave we've lost this year who have made us and kept us free. People like Albert Smith, Hawley, late of Scranton, Robert Cannon, Hazleton, Harvey's Lake, John Emmert, Plains, Alan Lyons, formerly of New Hyde Park, New York, Scranton, Basil Pavlchak, Simpson, Charles Pisano, and Nola, but he was from Pittston. So with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Let's gavel back to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense. Wally, I love you. I mean, you could tell that is a likable guy. But you see now, and again, I was agnostic on it. I mean, hey, it's only 500 or 600 million. Do you hear how we're talking, by the way? That's how they have us talking. Oh, it's only 500 or 600 million. It might be closer to $1 billion that's funded to PBS. And he just made me decide I'm against the funding. And God bless you, the local PBS, you can't even, please don't put them in that pot. Don't put them in that pot of soup. I know a lot of people down there, they are great. And we have a great, but by the way, they're funded unless they mess it up because one of their last bosses, Tommy Cura, sold a frequency license. I was some ungodly figure, 30 million, 36 million. So they're funded forever. We don't have to worry about them going anywhere. And by the way, if they're under threat, let's give them money out of our pockets to keep them. So I want to keep the local PBS. National PBS, sink or swim on your own because you're lying to people. And here's the other part. And by the way, this doesn't come from me, although I know it and I've been talking about it. The New York Times, they looked at all of this USAID bullspit and their spending. They concluded less than 10% of the money was getting to half of these idiotic programs. And the other thing for our friends who still listen to PBS national news and believe it, or NBC, ABC, whatever, not only are they taking all the money in big salaries with nonprofits and NGOs, law firms, consultants, all of that, not only are they doing that, but instead of feeding starving people, they're paying for LGBTQ plus for people in Uganda who need food. Unreal. So they're wasting your money, Wally. It ain't getting to the people, which is the first reason that people aren't starving because of Elon Musk. And by the way, I liked Bono until now. And now that he's part of the lie, I'm not interested in him anymore. He was always a down-the-middle guy, let's take care of business. Now I know he's a liar, and he's willing to lie for God knows what reason. He should have been calling him out for wasting all the money instead of feeding people. You do it better through private charities, not through the government anyway. So that's what happens, guys. They're wasting the money on themselves. So it isn't getting, so nobody's starving. Because of Elon Musk, no one will starve because of the budget that doesn't go into effect till October 1st. Nobody. It's impossible. It's physically impossible. Wow. It gets you fired up to listen to these lies. It truly does. And, well, to our new guy, we've added a few more, but Ian Hintz, this is what we do. This is what we do in the Club for Common Sense. We call out common sense, and we call people on it when they don't use it, intentionally or otherwise. Mark Mayer points out the Zoran effect. They had a headline, "Say it ain't Zo." This is this clown that just won the Democrat nomination. You've got major real estate firms in New York City tanking like 6% because this fool has been elected. I mean, it's going to be a run on the bank. People are going to get out of New York City so quickly if this clown wins. So people better get together that vote in New York City and stop this. Stop it now. This is insanity. Yeah. So Lackawanna County is undergoing. Somebody said, now you know where Frank gets his news from. I know. Somebody said, right on, Bobby. My uncle went to Uganda last year, a normal straight white man, and came home a lady. I don't think we could blame that on. We can't blame that on USAID, but we just got to end the madness. No more money for USAID. It's a scam. It's a scam that Washington insiders, Beltway insiders, are stealing $1 trillion a year of our money. And by the way, if we had it, God bless you. We don't have the money. Period. Done. End of sentence. Fact. Anyway, back to the subject at hand. Lackawanna County Commissioner Chris Chermak is having another information session. The last one well attended, and a lot of people told me they got a lot out of it. And he's having another one Monday. And fresh off an airport meeting, he's with us. Lackawanna County Commissioner Chris Chermak. How are you, Chris?
Good morning, Bob. Good. How are you?
I'm great. Tell us what you're doing on Monday, because these notices are getting to people's houses, and a lot of people are in a lather.
Well, right. So the letters are all hitting the mailboxes now with everybody's new assessed values. And, my phone never stopped ringing yesterday with concerns from whether you're residential, commercial, industrial, didn't matter. People are very concerned on how this is progressing. So, my town hall is this Monday night at Abington Heights High School. Doors open at 5:30, and it's a panel just like it was for Lackawanna College. I have a panel of a couple attorneys and an appraiser professional to, explain the processes of residential, commercial, industrial, what you do for comparisons and how you go about, getting a hearing and what you need to do to help protect yourself. So
by the way, that's an important point, Lackawanna County Commissioner Chris Chermak. It's not all decided. It's not over with just because you got that letter.
Right. So, if there's a concern, you're looking at your numbers, myself included, you're going to get asked for a hearing. That's why I encourage everyone to ask for a hearing and, sit in front of the board, have your ducks in a row and your comparables and, plead your case because, once this is in, it's in. And that's what your taxes will be based on. And then, I look at and I think about like your great sponsors, the Picardo boys and John Basilega, which I just listened to you with him. I mean, these folks, in their commercial properties are going to, potentially get harpooned. And we can't afford these people to move out of the area or close their businesses or they're
Well, that's on top of
necessary for
Commissioner Gaughan's 33% tax increase.
Well, that's right. That's already there. So, I have major concerns. I've been trying to fight this. I tried to, I didn't vote for it to begin with, but been trying to fight it, trying to get things done. But now I'm dealing with, issues and inconsistencies with values and people really just losing their minds. So there's a lot going on, and I have to protect the elderly here, the people on fixed incomes. Their utilities are skyrocketing, costs are skyrocketing, and then all the politicians say is we want to keep them in their homes. We want to keep them in their homes, but then they keep jamming stuff down their throats. So it's not working. We need to have safeguards in place. I've been pushing for it, and I'm going to push for it. So there's a lot going on.
Quickly,
there's a tremendous amount.
Chris Chermak, there's 2 commissioners in Lackawanna County. There's supposed to be 3. What in God's name is going on?
Well, it was appealed, so now it's in the Commonwealth Court, which I have a feeling it's going to go directly to the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania for the judges to make a decision or what we're going to follow, whether it's Home Rule Charter or the Rule 1908. But bottom line is it still goes back to the judges to decide. So we could be months away from another commissioner. I have no idea.
Well, don't vote with Gaughan on anything. Just don't vote with Gaughan on anything. If you're agreeing with Gaughan, you're probably wrong. That's a good way to follow.
Well, I can tell you I'm not going to agree with budgets that are coming up and reassessment figures. That I'm definitely not voting for. So, we have a lot of things to discuss and work out. We can't continue down this road. And the county needs to make major cuts. We got to look at every nook and cranny and make cuts. We have to.
Well, the biggest mistake as commissioner, and it would have been brutal to do. We should have laid off about 500 people when we were facing the disaster left to us by Joe Corcoran, and instead we raised the taxes, and it was a monstrous mistake. I regret it to this day, 20 years later.
Yeah, that's a difficult decision, and you're in
they're
the
real
moment.
people.
You're trying to do
they're real people.
Well,
it's not easy, but
No,
so are the
it's not.
taxpayers. The taxpayers are real people, and
They are.
made a mistake.
Well, and we work for the taxpayers. That's who I work for. That's who I report to, and that's who I'm supposed to be protecting. So that's what I do every day.
All right, Chris, Monday, what time, where?
Monday, doors open 5:30 at the Abington Heights High School at Noble Road in Clark Summit. Reassessment town hall. There's time for questions and answers during the program. So I'm encouraging anybody, wherever they live in Lackawanna County, they're welcome to attend. There's no charge.
That's great that you're having this. Thank you. Lackawanna County Commissioner Chris Chermak. Appreciate it, my man.
Thank you.
All right. We've got to take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. Let's hear from our great sponsors. Let's do a little history. Let's do a little music. And then we'll talk to you. 570-883-0098. This date, 1965, the Stones. They moved from number 26 to number 4 with their hit Satisfaction, Murph tells us. And the U.S. Supreme Court, this date, 2015. 5-4 decision. Granting and acknowledging same-sex marriages and the right of states to say that same-sex marriages could occur. And I couldn't agree more. I know some of you get angry at me. I couldn't agree more. That doesn't mean the Catholic Church or somebody else has to say it's okay. Or say, yeah, we're in on it. It's just the government should not prohibit people of the same sex from getting married. And I'm all with it. But now, here's what happens. Then they take it a million miles farther, not the gays, although the leadership that claims they're in charge of lesbians and gays. The LGBTQ community. What community? You don't have a community. You have a bunch of people just trying to get along, trying to make it in life. You're not a community. You got a bunch of people pretending to be leaders because they're getting something out of it. It's, again, another scam. But a long overdue decision back in 2015. All right. Somebody brought this up. Texting in, starvation is often the result of politics. Amen. What do you think the people in Gaza were starving from? Why do you think they were living in decrepit poverty in Gaza? Because their leaders were Hamas were becoming billionaires. Think of it, billionaires. And you have total asses like Joe Biden and his administration giving them more money, $700 million from the United States alone during the Biden administration. Trump had cut that money off. And where was it going? To plot the murder of Jews, to foment terrorism abroad, and to build tunnels and acquire weaponry to kill. This is insane. And we're playing along with it and pretending like it's not happening. Shame on you, Bono. Did you forget about the disgusting socialists that are running these countries in Africa? Oh, blame it on Elon Musk. So stupid. So phony. What a shame. By the way, we got to go to something good right before we go to break here. Well, let me do one more thing. One of the three blind mice, the current Scranton City Council President Gerald Smurr. I was hoping we were done with him, but we're not, apparently. He's running as an independent for council because he wants a rubber stamp for Mayor Many Names. Nonsense, like the consultants for the DPW. The consultant to hire a consultant for the pool that ain't built at Naog. Yeah, that Gerald Smurl, one of the three blind mice. Shame on you. And he still wants to run? Listen, you screwed up your paperwork. I get it. I did that myself. No big deal. Just slink away. So again, I said we have good subject. Headline of the, or front page of the Times Tribune. In Carbondale. Holt Lumber. They've been doing it since 1895. 130 years. That is great. And our family's in the lumber business. I worked at the North End Lumber. It ain't easy. So good for you, Wiggins family. That is good stuff. All right. The Bicardo Jewelers, your Breitling watch store, tells me the time is 11:33. We'll be back. Veterans Tribute, and then we're going to get to your calls after the weather. Our veterans this hour and every hour, this day and every day, brought to you by our man, John Basiliga. And Basiliga Hospitality. It's time to think about the weekend. Far Street Tavern, Scranton Art House, the Old Brook Inn, Atera 519, Sergei's the nightclub, the Stegmeyer Mansion, Queen City Tavern. Did I say Scranton Art House? Incredible properties. You will be pleased with each and every one. Albert Smith, he was 85. He passed away May 2nd. Formerly of Hawley. He lived in Scranton at the Geno Murley Center at his passing. He was born in Scranton. Preceded in death by his wife, Claudette, and two of his brothers. He's a proud Navy veteran with 28 combined service years. All for us. Avid storyteller. A strong man of faith and devoted family man. He worked management positions at various trucking companies. Brockway Motor and Kenworth of PA. Ingersoll Rand. Remember the Masons and the Iram Shrine in Dallas. Survived by his brother, cousins, nephews, and nieces, including cousins Joyce and Deborah, who provided constant care at Geno Murley for him. His family says Albert is finally home with Jesus and free from the pain he endured with polio most of his life. And they thank the Geno Murley Center staff, which is amazing. Albert Smith. Robert Cannon. We lost him May 23rd. He was 82. Devoted husband, father, grandfather, brother, uncle. Born in Hazleton. Graduated from Hazleton High School. He and his family relocated to Harvey's Lake in 2004. He's survived by his loving wife of 55 years, Mary J. He's also survived by his son, a daughter, 7 grandchildren, and many other family members. He served us in the United States Navy, 1961 to 1964. He then worked for the U.S. Postal Service in the Hazleton area. Later, he became postmaster of Drums and the Cybertsville offices. After retiring there, he returned to work for Wilkes University as a shuttle bus driver. Member of St. Gabriel's Church, Hazleton, then became a member of Our Lady of Victory Church, Harvey's Lake. Robert's Catholic faith and family were of utmost importance to him. He was also a member of the Knights of Columbus. Robert Cannon. Our great veterans this hour brought to you by John Basiliga and Basiliga Hospitality. These veterans, amazing. Storm Tracker 16 forecast from meteorologist Joe Snedeker. Today, partly sunny, humid with a chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms, 83. Tonight, partly cloudy, it'll be 65. Friday, cloudy and cooler, chance of showers, 75. Saturday, partly cloudy and milder with scattered thunderstorms, 85. Sunday, warm and humid with a chance of thunderstorms, 85. There's a Frankie Valli. I mentioned my parents went to New York to see a Bobby Darin deal, I guess, on Broadway. And John and Cheryl Martins are the ones who always bring them and go with them. So we're getting them on July 11th. There's a Frankie Valli thing happening at Sergei's. And we're all going. The Cuties coming with me, with my parents, and I call them the Corleones, but with the Martins, I'm looking for that. July 11th. They're varied programming at Sergei's, which is what makes it great. I sort of love any kind of music, you know? And as does Murph, and you can tell when he picks it out. All right, let's go to Donald from Pittston. Don.
Yes.
You got to wait for your theme song.
All right.
And he did come over to the Club for Common Sense. Hey, Donald, how you doing today?
How you doing, How you doing, my friend? Bush 41. After the first Gulf War was at 92%. And this mission that Trump did was just as good, if not better. No casualties or nothing after the first Gulf War. So the media is lying. They're putting up these fake numbers like he's losing and his approval's down, disapproval in Michigan, Pennsylvania, all over. It's so disgusting to see what's happening here with this country, this media. And then they have this socialist that is going to run for New York City mayor. And he's so gone. He wants grocery stores run by the state, the government, grocery stores.
Oh, he's
police.
Lost it. And he's anti-Jewish. He's anti-cop. He's anti-capitalism.
Listen to this. No police. A social worker and a psychiatrist comes to the scene of the crime. Well, we'll call the police on him, and the social worker can put him in a straitjacket, and the psychiatrist can throw a net over him and haul him away and bring the police back.
One thing, Donald, we're gonna have a lot of socialists and psychiatrists and psychologists going to the shooting range. They'll be going to the shooting range.
Psychiatrist, you kill somebody with a gun. How are you going to arm yourself? This guy's lost it. Really, he's the guy who should be the first one to call the cops and take him away.
Now,
this is beyond
Donald,
insanity.
one of the things
really
I have some question over, but it's a matter of strategy. I think that the Trump administration is reacting too much to the leaked report that aired primarily or first on CNN about the lack of success, the claimed lack of success of the Iranian mission. I think they should have just said, look, we're waiting for the final results. We know it was a success, and then just keep going on because they're going to lie about everything Trump does. Like you can't waste your time on them.
Everybody knows he's a Muhammad Ali of president. So a lot of people didn't like Ali. It was like 50-50. So when Trump gets up in the morning, he's automatically at 100%. 50% yay, 50% no, for whatever reason. So we know how good this guy is. He did more in 6 months than, I don't know, I'm a political story in decades. They were playing with them since the hostages were Carter. You know that.
Yep. And they've been killing it. Iran has been. They've been killing Americans since 1979. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I mean, him and Obama tried to be nice to them, but that didn't work, giving them money and concessions and everything. So this guy, I mean, whether you like him or not, he's doing a great job. I don't understand what people are upset about. Isn't it something how powerful he is? It's like Muhammad Ali. He'd slap a guy, call the referee over. He tells China, "Okay,
that's a good comparison. That's a good comparison."
He brought the glove over. Okay, China, you can buy oil now off of Iran, and the price dropped. That's how great this guy is. I hope you're listening, Mr. President. He is unbelievable. It's no question. He's sitting in the chair. Nobody could do what this guy could do. Come on.
I know.
The media's got to stop this insanity. They're making fools out of themselves.
Well, that's what they do. That's what they do.
He's the greatest of our time. There's no doubt outside of Lincoln with the Civil War in Washington, the father of our country. If it was a Triple Crown race, he had 13 Triple Crown winners. They all carried 126 pounds. He carried 148. He's got the media bias 10%, the convictions 10 pounds for the media, and a pound for each assassination. He won the Triple Crown with 148 pounds, where all the other horses won with 126.
You are on fire today, Donald.
Yeah, because he's good. He's good. I see it. I mean, come on. It's 6 months into this thing. He destroyed all them sites over there. The threat's gone. David said he want to come to the table. What is wrong with people? Just acknowledge greatness. That's all I'm asking, in honesty.
All right, well, man, thank you, Donald. Always a pleasure. And he's got 2 theme songs because he converted. Remember the prodigal son. What is that in the other story about the sheep that was lost and came back? We left the 99 to grab Donald. He's back, and he came back with us. We're ready. Part of the Club for Common Sense. We'll take a break. I'll be back. Bad company. I'm sorry. Joe Frank and Hamilton Joe. Is this Hamilton Joe Frank? Is that somebody got their full name in there? But it's Hamilton Joe Frank and Reynolds. They moved from number 19 to number 8 with their hit, Don't Pull Your Love, Murph tells us. Maybe Murph has to tell me that. I think I heard this before. It's Joe Frank. That's his full name. I know Jerry Frank. All right. Anyway, that's their song. And we're going to finish with Elvis. Because on this date, 1977, Murph tells us he performed his final concert at Market Square Arena in Indianapolis. The top ticket price, $15. The last song that Elvis performed, which we'll play here, was Can't Help Falling in Love. Isn't that that's a great way to end the program, is it? Or is it not, huh? Honesdale says, LTS, the absolute scariest scenario for unity in this country is our shores being attacked. Yep. I don't think they're going to subvert us from within. The Islamists. They're actually as much a threat or more than China. They truly are. And they're here. And now winning nominations for mayor of New York. Somebody texts in, Bob, I'm not trying to be a jerk when I ask this. Well, of course you're not. I would never assume that. But isn't the fact that Trump has to bomb Iran a direct result of him pulling out of the Iran deal in his first presidency? All right. No. It's a direct result of, number one, Obama and John Kerry, his Secretary of State's appeasement to get the JPTOA, the deal that delayed, supposedly delayed, Iran's march towards a nuclear weapon. That deal gave them between $1.7 billion in cash delivered on the tarmac of an airport and another $50 billion in unfrozen funds, which they promptly used to continue developing a nuclear weapon. And by the way, it's not like we didn't have an example to avoid this kind of stupidity. Bill Clinton did it in North Korea. And what did they use the money he gave them for? He gave them money to not develop the nuclear weapon in Korea, North Korea, and he used it to develop a nuclear weapon. What do you think Iran did? Oh, but they added to it. They made it worse. They also paid for terrorism and funded groups like Hezbollah and the Houthis and Hamas. That's number one. Number two, Joe Biden in his presidency. Iran was cut off. There was an oil embargo, an embargo of Iranian oil during the Trump's first term. They were starved of money. They had $4 billion, which is not a lot for a country of 90 million people. They had $4 billion in cash reserves. Now, that meant they couldn't do anything. He was starving them. It was called Program of Maximum Pressure. Joe Biden comes in. He not only stops the program of maximum pressure, he allows them to sell oil, ends the embargo, which allowed them to make net $100 billion. He did worse. In 3 separate tranches, he released $16 billion to the Iranians. What did they use it for? To develop nuclear weapons. How do you think they paid for all this underground and these underground complexes? Where do you think they got the money? Biden gave it to them. He let them have it. So no, it's actually the exact opposite. That's why Iran has the money to cause the trouble it's caused, because they were given it by Obama, Biden, and then by Biden. Trump's policies have worked exceptionally well. And he's stood firm against them. And remember, if these lunatic Islamists get a nuclear weapon, obtain one, build one, they will use it. That's what they said. They're not doing it to have it, to stockpile it, not even like North Korea. They're having it, getting it to use it, to bring about the end of the world. They've said, that's what they said. This radical Shia sect that runs Iran. So thank you for asking. Certainly not upset. Thank you for asking. Those are important points. You're not going to get them from PBS. You're not going to get them from NBC. You're not going to get them from CBS. You'll get them here. So let's let Elvis sing. But a final mention of our veterans brought to you by our man John Basiliga. Robert Cannon. Hazleton. And Harvey's Lake. Albert Smith. Hawley, Scranton. Gino Murley Center. John Emmert. Plains. Alan Lyons, formerly of Hyde Park, Brooklyn, Manhattan, all that. Mulberry Towers, Scranton, and the great Gino Murley Center. Basil Pavelchak, Vienna, Virginia, but he was from Simpson. And Charles Pisano. Charlie was from Enola, but he came from Pittston. Our great veterans today. Well, guys, the Sue Henry Show is next. The Rob O'Donnell Show after that. Yet now I must gavel to a close this meeting of the Club for Common Sense. God willing, I'll be with you tomorrow. But we must say, adios, as Elvis would say. We are adjourned.